What's an invention that's still around today but has lost sight of its original purpose? PlayDoh was supposed to be a wallpaper cleaner originally. Now it serves as a delicious appetizer. Wait, what? Use your PlayDoh on your bubble wrap. Wasn't it specifically meant to clean the soot off the wallpaper where there was a coal fireplace installed? There are several drugs that would make the list. Cocaine and Viagra for sure though. Heroin was originally advertised as an addiction-free alternative to opium. Oops. Also Bayer introduced it as a toothache reliever for children in 1898. Exactly like how OxyContin was advertised as non-addicting just 2 decades ago. They knew. Cocaine is also still used as an anesthetic for eye stuff. In the ear with an eye injury. Once you see that vial come out, you know relief is only seconds away. Fun fact: cocaine has a national stock number in the US military supply system. Electric pen by Edison are now tattoo machines. It's sure if this is correct, but the tattoo artist who did one of my tattoos told me the gun machine has not changed since invented. It's exactly the same since Edison invented it. It's true. Source: I heard that once too. The first tattoo machines were made using parts from doorbells. I don't know how anyone made that connection. But coil machines are used everywhere. Even with rotary machines invented, many artists prefer the hard hit that a coil gives you. Also, high-heeled shoes. They were originally for men and used for horse riding, as the heels were supposed to keep the feet more secure in the stirrups. Now, they're just fancy women's shoes. Also used by butchers so they didn't stand in blood. Now I'm imagining my butcher in a fancy stiletto. As of 2020, I've never seen or heard of that. But I wouldn't be surprised. In medieval England, both men and women sometimes wore platform shoes to raise their feet above the shiz and trash-filled streets. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say it's easier to bike in heels than dressy flats. But it really is. My wife and kids all ride horses. All the shoes' boots have heels. Even the tennis-style shoes need the heel to keep the heel down. Maybe it's been said already. Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper were originally marketed as medicine and health tonics. I believe Drive. Pepper's original name was something like Dr. Pepper's Health Elixir. Brew, a Scottish soft drink popular in the UK, was originally marketed as a health tonic because of the large amount of iron in the drink. In 1949 they had to stop calling it Iron Brew because of restrictions from the government on what could be marketed as having vitamins or minerals. And it became the legally distinct IRN Brew. Kleenex. Its original purpose was to act as insulation in gas masks during World War I. After the war, its parent company advertised it as a way to remove makeup. Tissues in general. Started for blowing your nose. Now used for blowing your load. I call them downstairs sneezers. For every pipe cleaner that actually cleans a pipe. 500,000 get twisted into children's art projects. Craft pipe cleaners are not pipe cleaners for cleaning pipes. Craft ones are made of plastic fibers and do not absorb any moisture. Real pipe cleaners are usually cotton and have some harder plastic bristle twisted in. Very different products. That's the point of OP's question. A friend's cat loved playing with pipe cleaners, so she gave me a bunch for my cats. The cats ended up not playing with them, but they wreaked havoc with my Roomba. Hopefully I found them all before Mr. R does. Bubble wrap. It was made to be a textured wallpaper. Wait. Really? Yep. That might be the stupidest invention ever. So after it's been up 6 months and you've bumped against it enough to pop most of them, or the kids got a hold of them, it now just looks like garbage. MTV, aka Music Television, and TLC, or the Learning Channel. Not a lot of learning happening on that channel these days. Unless you enjoy learning about the daily lives of morbidly obese people. And idiots marrying morons from different countries in a matter of weeks. I remember when the History Channel had history shows. Don't forget TLC also has plenty of shows about families with way too many children as well as little people. Viagra. It was invented as a blood pressure medicine. To be fair, it still does something with blood pressure. I recall seeing a news piece about a kid with a dangerous genetic defect that caused potentially fatally low blood pressure. He was taking Viagra as a treatment for that. The reporter asked him a question I couldn't imagine having handled with anything other than terminal embarrassment when I was his age. Essentially asking him what it was doing for his penis. The kid was cool, though. He just smiled slightly and said, "It doesn't fix what isn't broken." It's still used to treat a form of high blood pressure called pulmonary hypertension in both men and women. It's sold under another name, Revatio, for marketing purposes. Both Viagra and Revatio are the same drug, sildenafil. My dog has pulmonary hypertension and takes sildenafil 3 times a day. FYI ladies, there is research to show Viagra effectively relieves menstrual cramping. But it is not being pursued. Nalgene bottles, the plastic water bottles that are popular with hikers, campers, other outdoor activity folks, were originally created for use as medical, scientific lab equipment as a lighter. Shatterproof alternative to glass. They're still really good for that. In fact, my company gets many free samples of Nalgene beakers and bottles from salespeople every year, which I take home and use as dining ware and sports bottles. Yep. I still use them in my lab. I use a Nalgene bottle in my lab as an alcohol transfer to my clean and coat machine for manufacturing lenses. Can't tell you how many times I've dropped it and said thank God it's a Nalgene. Those things are awesome. What a coincidence. I use a Nalgene bottle as an alcohol transfer to sporting events. I worked in a factory that printed those bottles. Clean them really well before you use them. I know how dirty the people were who stuck their fingers into each one before they hit shelves. Microwave transmitters were originally created to transmit radar signals in World War II. When a worker noticed that being near the transmitter melted a candy bar in his pocket, it led to the development of the microwaves that we use in our homes today. For fun, I cooked a bag of frozen pizza rolls on an airport radar once. Ex-military guy the first knew used to toss steel wool into the radar beam at a NORAD site he worked at. Planes with radar have an interlock so they don't work on the ground, as it can set fire to fuel storage. Apparently. Listerine mouthwash. It used to be a floor cleaner. Probably why it burns the tip of my tongue. When I was in my early 20s I had my tongue pierced. Before they would pierce it I had to swish Listerine around my mouth for 2 full minutes. That pain was worse than the actual piercing. You should use it over the sink, not the oven. Superglue. I think it was originally an instant suture in medkits for soldiers in Vietnam. Cyanoacrylate, active ingredient in superglue, is still used as medical glue. You can buy the medical grade stuff on Amazon. Any reason I shouldn't just use the regular stuff? I've been using it for years. My dad is a professional nurse and would always use superglue to close up wounds on the farm in a pinch. But it would sting like hell. I always thought it was a ghetto as hell way of dealing with an injury. But he mentioned to me that the medical grade stuff is chemically identical but just a little more pure and with a painkiller in it to help with the stinging. He'd use the medical stuff if he could, but considered them interchangeable and the same thing. Hitachi Magic Wand. It was originally intended as a massager. Hitachi still explicitly sells it as a massager and nothing else. It also gets upset at people claiming it's a sex toy, which is also why they have ceased putting the brand name on it. I love how even the Wikipedia article is like, nope, it's a Hitachi magic wand. Yet somehow the product slogan is powerful, penetrating vibrations. They didn't intend so many satisfied customer. It didn't satisfy its intended customers. I carry a lot of muscle tension in my vulva. Stop shaming me. Phones. They're hardly used for making phone calls anymore. You beat me to it. I hardly ever make a phone call. I might as well call it my Reddit device. Can be called alarm clock too. Menstrual pads. They were invented to soak up blood in bullet wounds. After the war, Kotex had several hundred tons left over and found that nurses had been using them as feminine hygiene. What did women use before pads were invented? Serious. It varied by time and place. But mostly rags. We get the expression, being on the rag, because, well, women in the 19th century used to do a lot of sewing. And leftover rags or old clothes would get used for cleaning, and the softer ones would be used to soak up menstruation. Around the end of the century, companies started selling cloth pads. The Kotex ones I mentioned were revolutionary because they were meant to be disposable rather than washed and reused. Go back further, and we don't really know. Women didn't do a lot of writing. There isn't a lot of writing by women that has survived. And men didn't care to mention it much other than demands for ritual bathing or herbs to keep the smell away. It's likely they did the same. But that's just an educated guess. Rags. Cotton. Sheep's wool. Knitted pads. Seems like anything that could soak up blood for a while. Even grass and papyrus plants. From Wikipedia. Aspartame. Aspartame was discovered in 1965 by James M. Schlatter, a chemist working for G.D. Searle & Company. Schlatter had synthesized aspartame as an intermediate step in generating a tetrapeptide of the hormone gastrin. For use in assessing an anti-ulcer drug candidate. 53 He discovered its sweet taste when he licked his finger, which had become contaminated with aspartame. To lift up a piece of paper. 75455. Tarun Attarasgaran participated in the development of aspartame as an artificial sweetener. 56. This mad lad is licking his fingers in a chemistry lab. SMH. In chemistry lab in college we had to figure out what an unknown chemical substance was by doing a bunch of tests and comparing the results to 6 known substances. Do the same tests on all 7 and compare results. I just tasted a little bit of the unknown and then tasted the 6 controls and was like, easy, it's the unknown, is that one. The tar just shook his head and looked at me like I'm an idiot. I got it right though. Jagermeister used to be a cough-cold medicine to help keep mountain climbers in the Alps warm. To be fair, it still can keep you warm and it still tastes like cough-cold medicine. Jaeger is a big one here. It is actually a krautliqueur, a kind of bitter alcoholic drink used to aid digestion in small quantities. And used to be seen as a drink for old people until a huge remarketing campaign. Now it's what college students get wasted off of. Not really an invention but IQ test. They were never meant to figure out how smart you were. They were for identifying students who may need additional help. It totally was invented by a French teacher to help struggling kids. Then it moved to America where we ruined it. The Stanford Binet IQ test was developed for this. The creator of the American Wechsler IQ test promoted it for use in eugenics programs. Cereal. It was supposed to stop you from wanking if I'm not wrong. Cornflakes has a massive cock on the box. And the cock's head is fully exposed at all times. Just the way Drive. Kellogg wanted it. All your replies are like, lol, yep. Meanwhile this is the biggest WTF on the thread for me.